In a world full of bad news, this podcast is a source of good news, real talk, and real inspiration. On this show, you'll hear stories of growth, legacy, and entrepreneurship. Everyday people who overcome real challenges to build something meaningful. My name is Steven Padernacht, third generation Bronx born and raised in the real estate game. This is the Padernacht Podcast, Brick by Brick. Dan Sachkowsky, also known as Big D, is a business growth expert and keynote speaker who helps entrepreneurs tighten systems, strengthen leadership, and scale with confidence. After bankruptcy at 24 and a heart attack at 40, Dan rebuilt his life and went on to build and sell 3 companies, scaling over $30 million in business. Today, he shares raw truth and real strategies through the Big D podcast and the Intrepidus podcast. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we've been crossing paths, so to say, and it's nice to actually finally meet you and put a name to the face, you know?
Likewise.
So tell me just a little bit about your upbringing. I like to kind of go back to the roots, right? So you're from Jersey?
Yeah, Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Okay.
Grew up in the hood. When I was 14 years old, moved to the suburbs. And high school, right after high school, started my own company. Came from, I would say, a family that was below average. And just did my thing from 17 moving forward because I didn't want to be below average.
You have brothers and sisters?
I have one brother. Yeah, he's a year younger.
You're younger, so you're the oldest.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. And so I guess that kind of plays into the part of you being a coach, right? Like you growing up with I never had a younger brother. Like I had 2 older brothers, so I look up to them as kind of like my mentors. Did you feel that you kind of helped, I guess maybe give your brother advice time to time? And
No, me and my brother are polar opposites, and it's a great story from, same upbringing, 2 different lives. My brother's an addict. He's recovering now last 3-4 years, but 20 years in addiction. My dad was in addiction growing up, and I just decided that wasn't a path I wanted to take. So my brother always worked for me growing up, and he was fully functioning as an addict, but 2 totally different people. For me, I feel like it was an entitlement thing he felt versus a coaching thing.
Interesting. So you went to high school in Jersey. Did you go to college in Jersey?
No, I basically like dropped out. When I left high school, my diploma was empty. I was supposed to go to summer school to fill that, and I started my first company at 17.
And what kind of company was that?
I was in the construction industry.
Okay. What were you doing? Selling like a sales?
No. So I went to VOTEC, a vocational school for carpentry. I only had one job my entire life for my junior and senior year. I worked for a guy, went to school for a couple hours and went to work. And that guy actually became my mentor. And from that point moving forward, as soon as I was done with high school, I started my own company in construction. I was doing like windows, doors, building decks, stuff like that.
Okay. So you were working with your hands?
Yeah.
Gotcha. And you were pretty successful at that?
Yeah. From 17 to 24, I netted about $3.8 million.
Wow. Netted $3.8 million.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't understand the significance of that, that's after your expenses are paid.
2006, which when I was 24, I made $680,000 that year.
Jeez Louise. You were living life as a 20-something-year-old, huh?
Yeah, and then at the end of that year, I went bankrupt.
Oh, man. How does one go from such a high to such a low?
So we're around the same age. Not sure how long you've been in real estate, but back in the early 2000s, we were in a foreclosure epidemic. 2006, 2007, the economy crashed.
Yep.
So when I got involved in construction, it was during very, very good times. I never saw a down because I never experienced bad business. Mm-hmm. The minute I stepped into it, we were busy. So I was making money hand over fist, spending money hand over fist, living in a 5,000 square foot house, Escalades, Benzes, everything, living the dream. MTV cribs, but in real life, not rented, but owned. And when the housing market collapsed and the real estate market collapsed, I collapsed with it. Number one, because I didn't save money, because I thought it was always going to be there, because that was my only run. And number two, I was at a point where I had too much pride to ask for help. And that moment actually changed my entire life.
So I'm assuming that you just over-leveraged yourself. You borrowed to the moon, and then all of a sudden...
I didn't over-leverage myself, but I was living basically at the amount of money that was coming in. That's where I was spending my life. just as long as that money came in, I was good. So my mortgage at the time was probably like $6,000-7,000 a month, whatever it was, car payments and whatnot, leases. And my nut was like between 35 and 40,000 for my company and for my personal life.
Mm-hmm.
And when $100,000 a month stops coming in, I went through $500,000 in savings fast.
Yeah.
So I did have a reserve, but I just thought maybe there was a gap in the market. They talked about that every time there's a real estate or a mortgage issue, they say it's not going to be long. So we don't know how to gauge it.
Yep.
So within 12 months, I went through all my savings, and now I was like, all right, well, I'm in a predicament where I have $100,000 left. What do I do?
Yeah. Yeah. So at that point, you thought bankruptcy was the best option for you at that point, because people get a misconception around bankruptcy. Like, you basically, did you reorganize, or did you just basically go and say
I shut my company down and I put my company through bankruptcy. So like I said, we were in a foreclosure epidemic. People were losing their houses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I wasn't going to fight the world when the world was losing. And what people don't understand about bankruptcy is that there's a law set in place for people who take risk. And if you're willing to do what other people aren't willing to do, you have a kind of an out.
Yeah.
And that's what bankruptcy is. Other people who max out credit cards, buy cars they can't afford, live in places they can't afford to look good, they use bankruptcy for the wrong issues.
Yep.
But for me, when I was in business, if I was able to shut my business down and get caught up in life because the world took a turn, that's basically how I used it.
And it's a smart decision.
Yeah.
What led you to make that decision? Like, I'm sure that you were probably consulting certain people and people were giving you maybe different advice. What led you to actually say, you know what, this is the path that I need to go on right now to figure out what the next steps are going to be?
So when you go a year with nothing coming in and you're trying to save yourself with every last dollar you have, you come to a point where it's like, all right, I got $100,000 left. What do I do? Well, it's time to put your pride in your back pocket and humble yourself enough to know that, hey, you're fighting the world and the world's not winning, like I said before. And if you try to make a move, it's like chess. You're probably going to lose. So at the end of the day, I let the world checkmate me. I was like, all right, I'm out.
Yep.
And I was allowed to position myself to start over. And thank God I didn't let that other $100,000 go, because I had a reserve for a little while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is super important for people to understand. Going back to your point about people who take risks, having that sort of out, right? Like, everybody looks at bankruptcy as like, that's it, you're dead broke. But no, it's actually, you're basically saying, hey, you know what, I can't afford to pay these debts anymore. And you know what, I will figure out a way to bounce back from this.
Yeah.
So, kudos to you for figuring that out at a young age. I mean, you were 24 years old. That's not something that normal 24-year-olds are going through.
Yeah.
What were you feeling emotionally at that time? Like, did you think that the world was crashing, or did you kind of have confidence in yourself to be able to move on to the next stage?
So here's what changed everything. I was living in a development. There was 13 houses in development, 5,000 square foot houses. I was as old as my neighbor's kids. Everyone on the block thought I was a drug dealer. Like, how is this kid doing stuff? But again, like, I was in a position where I was doing things that most people weren't willing to do. So when I went to the lawyer and I said I was going to file bankruptcy, what went through my head was like, man, I built something over the last 7 years. Now it's all gone. Having a conversation with him, what he said is, he goes, you're different than most people. He goes, you've taken a risk that most people will never take in their life, and you're trying to fight against something that's never going to allow you to win. He goes, you are able to get a fresh start, and if you've done it once, you could do it again. So when I left his office, I felt very good, like, hey, man, someone else believes in me, right? And on top of that, I walked home. I had 2 sons at this point. And my 2 sons were there. As soon as I opened the front door, they had their arms out, and they just wanted me to grab them and hold them and hug them. So I go, man, I spent the last 7 years building this business, and I was chasing money. And one thing I realized was a lot of my friends who were in the industry were all in the same problem. We were all chasing money. And one thing I read in a book, years before that, was if you chase money, you're going to chase it for the rest of your life. So when I walked in and see my kids, I go, man, you know what I'm going to do for now? I'm going to chase purpose. If I start chasing purpose, money will always come. So I started putting money secondary in my life. And since that day moving forward, I've never had to worry about money the way I did.
What part of you did you have to kind of kill along with the bankruptcy and the business?
Well, I think when we're young and even older, if you talk to most people today who call themselves an entrepreneur, I really challenge that. I think literally 95% of people who call themselves entrepreneurs are wantrepreneurs because their time is leveraging them. They're not leveraging their time. And everyone always asks me, like, if you can go back, do you regret your bankruptcy? Would you do it differently? I said, the one thing I regret is I didn't ask for help. So I think we have so much pride as men, women, whoever we are, as we get older, we don't want to ask for help because we've got this. It's like an egotistical thing that we have going on. So I said from that point moving forward, no one's ever been able to build something of significance without help. So from that point moving forward, 25 for the rest of my life up until today where I am right now, I hired a business coach and I've had a business coach ever since.
Your business coach helps you in your, I imagine, in your personal life as well. Because
Yes.
I have a coach as well, and I find that a lot of times it becomes a therapy session a lot of times. And I think that's what most people need. They just need somebody to hear them out. That's a non-biased, the accountability. Because I am a coach in my office. I'm a productivity coach for newer agents. But I go to my business coach and we set a plan, right? And then every Wednesday I know that I got to have my numbers ready so the accountability's there. But a lot of times it's like, a good coach will allow you to find the answer on your own, and they'll ask you the right questions.
It's always like you answered your own question, right?
Yeah,
Like, and they'll get it out of you. So yeah, having a coach is important. And I think with anyone, it's being vulnerable enough to know that you can't do it by yourself. And when you think you can, you stop growing, and then you put a cap on everything in your life. So if you look at your coach, I think it's pretty valuable for your audience to know is that you have a coach, because I don't know if you'd say that all the time. But most people who are striving in the world of success today have a coach, and those coaches have coaches. So I'm pretty sure your coach has a coach.
Yeah.
And I have a coach. You know, I pay 6 figures a year to my coach, and people are like, "Oh my God, that's crazy." But I go, it started with $20,000 a year, and then it worked its way up. But if you want to take yourself up the escalator, man, every step gets steeper and steeper, even though you think you're getting higher and higher.
And I think that as you level up in those coaching ranks, you need different help for different parts and different stages of your life. The new real estate agent needs to know what their business and schedule should look like. The established realtor needs to know what type of systems to build. And I think you're a big systems guy, right? How do systems play a part? How did they play a part when 25-year-old Dan is now figuring out what the next stages of his life is going to be? Were you systems based at that point as well?
No. So my first company that went out of business was not system oriented. I was doing everything. I was the bottleneck. I was the emailer. I was the guy answering the calls. I was doing everything. And I think because I was self-driven as a company, that's where I got lost. And what I often find, especially with my coaching clients, is we all live in this world of chaos. Chaos explodes in our face, especially the more we take on. And business owners like have this thing where it's like, keep hustling, and then hustle looks like busy work, but busy work doesn't always produce results. So it's really finding yourself to be accountable and say, okay, well, how do I create systems and processes? And you do it, you know, with your new agents and as people are getting stuff, like how do you have KPIs? How do you have SOPs? And most business owners don't even have that stuff. They have no idea what's going on in their business.
They don't even know what a KPI is.
Right.
Or an SOP.
Right.
They just know that when I have a new listing, this is what I should do. I'm like, but that's your SOP.
Yeah, exactly.
And then what is your KPIs? Your KPIs are the key performance indicators. What are the numbers that are moving the needle forward? How many appointments are you going on? How many conversations are you having? How many agreements are you signing? How many? And you start looking at those numbers. And as a coach, and I'm sure you can relate, you figure out the problem real quick when you're tracking numbers.
Yeah.
Because you know that it's a problem, depending on which number is off, you know where the problem is and how you could focus your attention as a coach.
It's funny when you talk to business owners, you go, how much money you make? They talk about their gross income.
Oh, yeah, no.
That's not how much money you make.
No.
And it's interesting when you find people who are doing $30,000 dollars a year as their salary, but their company's doing $3 million. You know, like this is what you're getting paid. You're getting paid less than a Walmart employee. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, you're looking at your top number. You have no idea where your money's going. You're pissing it all out the window.
Yep. What was the next move? What did 25-year-old Dan do?
So I actually got involved in
after you hugged your kids and you realized that your life needed to be based around purpose.
I got involved in direct sales. I saw you out there putting something in your cup. Jim Rohn's a big mentor of mine, and he was a big Herbalife guy. But I got involved in network marketing because my back was up against the wall. I made about $7 million in network marketing in 5 years.
What were you selling?
I was in a couple companies. One company we were selling phone service.
Okay.
And then I went to a product-based company and was selling wellness products.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So,
All right.
I know the industry very well. I was
Yep.
in the top 5 of production of both companies.
Yep.
That led me to being in Success Magazine a number of times. That led me to a bigger place of personal development. And it showed me a different side of the world. I was playing a leadership role now where I had tens of thousands of people, within my organization. But when you're in network marketing, you kind of got to realize a couple things, like you're never going to stop working. True residual income isn't really true residual income. The guys who are 50, 60, 70 years old are still working for a reason, because all your money comes from your TCAPs, bringing people in.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless if it's willable and sellable, things crash out. Fortunately enough, I haven't done network marketing since 2014. I still get a pretty significant check every single month, but that check dwindles down every single month, and I'm not participating.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was really looking to build that thing for the way that I got introduced to it, I should have been making $100,000 a month for the rest of my life. But that's just not the truth.
Yeah.
So I saw behind the curtain after 5, 6, 7 years in the industry, and I realized, my heart and soul was in construction. I'm going to get back to construction. I'm going to do what I got to do. And I took the personal development, the leadership skills, and then all the systems and processes that I knew would work, and that's how I went on to build multiple companies and sell multiple companies.
I want to go back to the network marketing, because I feel like it gets a really bad rap, but you said something very interesting that I want to touch on. You took a lot of the leadership and a lot of the, because I'm sure that you were getting, you were exposed to a lot of the Jim Rohn, a lot of the Brian Tracy, a lot of those sort of.
I've shared the stage with most of these guys.
Yeah. So that right there alone in itself, the positivity that comes out of it is something to be commended, I feel like. I've done my share of the network marketing as well. I was selling Cutco knives, I was selling home security systems, I was doing this, Amway, whatever you name it. I tried it because I was trying to find a shortcut to sales and to becoming an entrepreneur, and I saw the shiny penny. I didn't last long in any of that stuff because it just didn't drive me. And I'm the type of person that I need something that's going to actually make me wake up in the morning. But the leadership aspect of it and the stuff that I learned through those years about believing in yourself, and that right there is something I still carry to this day. So I think that that's something that we definitely share in common. All right, so network marketing, and I just wanted to share that because it was super impactful for me, and it still is to this day. All right, so network marketing, and the next move was back in the construction.
Yeah.
Doing what?
Just building houses.
So you were actually building houses, developing housing.
Yeah,
were you a contractor, or were you buying property and developing?
Both. I was a GC, and at the same time, we were doing spec homes and whatnot.
In Jersey?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mostly on the water.
Building department's a bitch, huh?
Yeah. It's all about who you know.
Yeah.
It's corruption everywhere, bro. You got to have the right architect, and you got to be the right person who knows everybody. You know what I mean?
I did a lot of development in New Jersey, and what I realized is that you go into these small towns and you think that it's going to be a lot easier because I came from New York City doing real estate here, and then when I went to Jersey, I'm like, listen, it's got to be easier than the Bronx building department. It's got to be easier. You go out there and it's like the mayor is calling you on Saturday morning, hey, wait a second, buddy. My neighbor, your neighbors are calling you. And I'm like, why is the mayor of this town calling me right now over the littlest thing? Oh, the trees are not positioned right. So they put more on the project than it really needed. And
a lot of these towns want to clean themselves up, and they want to keep people accountable because there's a lot of communities that are moving in different places that are trying to take over and create a mess and trying to build authority. And the only way that they're going to be able to, keep things tight and par is by getting on everybody. And other people will pay the fine. But the sad part about it is that everybody's going to feel that pain because most of these towns, I'm not going to say all of them because a lot of them are corrupt. Most of these towns are trying to do the right thing by not allowing the chaos to come in.
Yeah. Well, chaos is something that you had mentioned earlier. And do you feel that a lot of your clients come to you with chaos?
I think a lot of clients come to me with lack of clarity. Chaos is their hustle. This whole hustle culture is bullshit. People think because they're busy doesn't mean productive.
Mm-hmm.
And they always think that they're one hire away or one fire away from doing things better. but it's the way you've conditioned yourself. And what I found is most of my clients don't have the right culture. Nobody rocks core values. Nobody has them. So they're just hiring to fill a seat. And what I've seen working in the last, let's say, 5 years the most is creating teams, not employees. Taking the role of being a leader versus a boss. I hated 20 years ago when someone called me a boss. Listen, it's equal playing field, man. Listen, we're here to do the same thing. The only difference is I have a bigger risk. You're getting a check, but we're here for the same result. To look at the end game and say, hey, this is what we did together. And most people have this thing inside them where they feel like, if I just had one more of me, that's like such an egotistical thing to say, because at the end of the day, there's so many people out there that will outperform us on our best day, and they'll be on their worst day, but people don't understand that. So the thing is when you implement systems and processes and you put people into these systems and processes, you really get to figure out who plays the best part in your organization, and you allow them to do their job. Why do most companies not succeed? Because they don't allow the people to come in and do their job because they want to micromanage.
My simple phrase is, don't try to put a round peg into a square hole. In KW, in Keller Williams, we have something called the KPA. It's the Keller Personality Assessment. And I was introduced to this probably about 4 or 5 years ago when I was looking to hire an admin. And one of my mentors, he was like, listen, have them take the KPA. I'm like, what the heck is a KPA? He's like, it will tell you more about that person than they can ever. And what it allowed me to see when I had them do it and fill it out, and then I took one myself, was this person enjoys being sociable. This person enjoys sitting behind a desk. And it kind of allowed me to say, wait a second, this person, I'm hiring them as an admin, but they're not really an admin. They're more social. They're more this. They would be better as a sales rep. Or this person is a sales rep, but he's more introverted, so maybe he should start as an admin. And by understanding where people are coming from and who they are at their core, to your point, it would allow them to succeed more. And I think a lot of business owners don't do that.
And people don't really realize that, the core of your business needs to be broken apart into places, and you need to hire to teach, not hire for skill. We always want to hire someone who's good, but it's hard to reteach somebody something your way than it is to bring somebody in who's willing to learn but doesn't know anything. That person will actually produce a lot faster than the person who has habits. And nobody ever sees it that way.
What's the expression? You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah, yep.
I prefer when agents are green. I prefer when people don't have those bad habits, because to your point, like, somebody's like, listen, this is the way I do things. All right, well, you know what? That's not the way I do things, and that's not the way that we as a company are going to grow. So this is how we're going to do it forward. And if they're not willing to do that, then it's going to be a very bad fit moving forward. Where do you start with businesses, right? So let's just say I hire you as a coach. Where do we start? Do we start personal, or is it strictly business?
With you. Nothing will change in your business until you change. I got to reverse engineer everything about you. The way you think, the way you drive. Because what has done is you've created limitations and rev limiters in your life that your business will never grow past you. So if we're going to go to the next step, I have to take everything out of you that's not working, that you think is working, and recondition the way that you're thinking so that you can get to that next growth pattern.
And how do you start? I
ask a bunch of questions. I get it really, really deep. And then once I ask all these questions and I really figure out your business, why your business is where it is, where you thought your business should have been, what your goal is, and what you feel your biggest obstacles are, then I come in and I punch you pretty hard in the stomach. And so I like to tell my clients this is like, listen, the first conversation we have, I'm probably going to knock you out, but I need you to get up quick because I'm going to hit you so hard with all this stuff. But what I've done was I created a solution, but I just want to know, I want you to know who the real you is, not who you think you are. I want you to know why your business is where it is, not why you think it is. And then I take it all and I just literally lay it out there, and they're very open to it. And what's crazy is as soon as you tell them that, it's like, shit, I knew that. I just didn't want to admit that.
Yeah. Or it was like something that subconsciously, like, oh yeah, I kind of knew that I was doing that, but I didn't realize that it was affecting my business in this way.
We always want to blame people, situations, and things for the results we're not getting, we don't ever want to look at ourselves.
You say that, and immediately in my head, I go to my father used to say, don't point fingers at people because you got one going at them and you got three coming right back at you. And you have to take that accountability to be able to move to that next step.
Exactly.
Do you find that a lot of people who come to you have a tough time taking that accountability? And how do you help them overcome that?
I think by the time someone comes to having a coach, they're frustrated enough that they're ready to be open. A lot of times when you tell people you're a coach and you tell people that they need a coach, they're so thick-headed. But there has to come a point where you're banging your head against the wall and it starts to bleed and you're like, I need a Band-Aid. And that Band-Aid is going to be a coach that's going to help you and actually let you heal. So it's self-awareness. And most of the people who come to me are ready. So it makes it easier. But what makes it harder for them is accepting that they're the problem, not what they think the problem is the problem.
How? What do you see as like the biggest mistake usually entrepreneurs make when they're trying to scale and fix their business?
They have to be there for every fire, every phone call, every email. They can't go on vacation without answering their phone. Every single thing revolves around them. So if you own a business and you can't step away, you basically own a glorified job and a glorified daycare center with adult children. That's what you own.
I've said that.
So how do I take you from this underpaid, overworked employee and make you into the CEO? We got to make you pull yourself out of doing everything and put people in place. If everything comes to you, you'll never be able to sell your business. That's the biggest thing is like people get involved in business for what reason?
I would say to have the freedoms to be able to dictate their own hours and paychecks, and then at some point to sell the business.
And what can't most people do? Dictate their own hours, and they don't have a substantial paycheck.
Yep.
So they're working more than everybody else. They're getting paid the least. And when they want to go away, they can't go away because their business dictates when they can and cannot go. So most people who are in business basically are trapped and they don't have that freedom. So now I take them out and I show them what that freedom looks like. I show them what that possibility looks like because doing everything the way you did, most people who are business owners today were employees at one point. So they're probably the best employee. Why is this guy making all the money? I'm going to do it myself. You don't even know what the hell that guy's dealing with, right? So now you're going to go in business and you're going to have the employee mentality and attitude and turn it into a business. You don't know how to run a business. And that's where you get trapped.
What does a tight system actually look like?
Daily monitoring through CRMs of knowing what's going on, having everyone checking in, your entire business operating system running, and you're looking at it from the outside. So no matter where you are, like so any business that I've owned up until this point over the last 10 years, I've been able to not be present, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks out of the month or out of the year or however long it is. I could be gone for 6 months. As long as I check in, I do my weekly huddles. That's all I do. I spend 30 minutes with the team and I can see everything. But I don't have to do that. I have an assistant. My assistant will look at everything. And if there's a problem, then my assistant will bring it to that manager or to whoever they have to bring it to. I'm the last result. Like everything is getting operated. And there's people who are doing certain things that are responsible. And then last resort is me. Hey, we need to make an executive decision. We can't figure this out. But if you know someone has to go, they got to go. If you know something's not working, it's got to be fixed. And I create lanes. Here's the biggest problem in business. Let's say I was just one of my clients, right? They have 8 employees. I just had their a half day with them and their team. I put every single person in a lane. This is your lane. If it's not in your lane, don't do it. Everyone tries to overlap. They want to help. They want to look good. You're never going to fix something if you're carrying weight of other people. So I help people stay in their lane and get people trained for that lane, and that's all they do. Because when you create overlap, you want to point the finger on why X, Y, and Z is not doing their job, and you had to help them versus you being good at what you're doing. Now you have an excuse on why you were underperforming because you were trying to help them overperform.
Everything that you are saying makes perfect sense. And it's amazing to me because I listen to a lot of Gary Keller, right? He is the founder of Keller Williams. And a lot of the stuff he talks about are systems. And that's the reason why I joined Keller Williams. I was what do you call it? A wantrepreneur.
Watch it.
I was a real estate broker. I was a sales agent for 2 years. I worked under my brother, and then 2 years later, I took a broker's test. I got my broker's license. I formed my first S corp, or whatever it was, C corp, S corp, whatever it was. And I was an independent broker. I was like, oh, I'm a business owner, but I had no clue what I was doing until I found Keller Williams, and they talked to me about systems, and they talked to me about models, and they talked to me about building a business that's profitable. So all of the things that you're saying, it's amazing to me how relevant they are across all businesses. And I guess that kind of leads me to my next question, which is, do you see more success, or do you think that it's easier to coach and or scale service-based businesses or actual retail businesses, or what type of business, or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. So whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a guy who owns a gym, whether it's a service-based company, if the systems are broken or no systems exist, you're never going to be able to operate at your highest levels. Systems create predictable results. So at the end of the day, like when you figure out what system works best, that's your operating system. And when that operating system is working at its highest levels, bro, every gear is moving.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter what business it is. A business can't be independently driven by one force. Every single person has to play their team. So I said this earlier on another podcast. I said, when you look at the leadership role of let's say a football team, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. Buffalo Bills are doing good this year, right? So at the end of the day, when you look at them as a team and as a culture, they have a pretty good culture. You have a head coach, which the head coach is the leader of the team, but then the team fills in, right? So the head coach calls the play. Now imagine the head coach calls the play and, Josh Allen's like, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this. Now there creates confusion. Who's in charge? Who's not in charge? What a leader does is a leader creates a system and creates the play. Then he has enough confidence in his team to perform. So when you create the system, everyone has their moving part. You have your quarterback, you have your receiver, you have whatever. And they all know what they need to do because that play has a play action. Same thing goes on in business. The leader creates a system, creates the core values, creates the culture that the company needs. The leader creates the play. Here's the mission statement of the company. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're going. Here's how X, Y, and Z play a part. Now, everybody has to show up. Mm-hmm. Now, when everyone feels like they're part of a winning team, the camaraderie is unbelievable. But when people feel like they're a missing link, look at winning football teams. Look at the people who never see a day of their life on the field. Look at how they act compared to everybody else. Exactly the same because they're part of the winning team. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the losing team and you look at, the one guy who's getting paid the most amount of money that's not getting his way because he's not getting his shame to fame, right? I call it shame to fame because he's shaming himself, yelling at the coach, yelling at the refs. Why? Because he's not being glorified. And the reason why is because he's trying to take the leadership from the coach and be the man and be the thing. Odell was the same way. That's the way he was. These people create these images for themselves, and this is why they get traded fast. Mm-hmm. It's like hire fast, fire faster.
Yep. I think that, to your point, identifying those cancers, right, is such an understated, quality. I guess not quality. What I'm saying is basically like by understanding those cancers in your organization and getting rid of them as fast as possible will help you grow. But like I could tell you personally, like as a business owner, firing somebody or having to let them go is one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do, or I still have to do to this day. So how do you help business owners identify those cancers in their organizations?
Number one, business should have no emotion. You should have zero emotion tied to it. Listen.
Easier said than done.
You're either growing or you're rotting. Rotting's not a word, but you're either ripe. You're ripe and you're sitting here. You're going to grow or you're going to die. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, you can feel bad for someone and the results are not bringing, and you could feel bad that you have to let them go. But at the end of the day, the longer you feel bad, the more you suffer. You gave them an opportunity. You allowed them to be part of the team. If they don't want to show up at 100%, what do you feel bad? They don't feel bad not showing up at 100%. Why do you feel bad letting them go?
What about if they have a really big heart and they're really nice people? How do you coach somebody through that?
Well, you can give them an opportunity. So like heart beats talent every time, but only if the heart's willing to play at its highest level, right? So they might have a big heart because they care about you, they bring you coffee, they do that kind of stuff. But if they're not performing and they're not doing what they need to do to help the team move forward, then what's the heart really there for, you know?
How do you determine?
You don't need emotional support in a business.
Listen, I agree with you, but it's just something that I'm sure you deal with your clients, right? Like when you're like, hey, listen, you know what? Bob is just not cutting it anymore. And but I love Bob. Bob's with me from the beginning.
Well, the longer you keep Bob, the longer we're going to have this conversation.
So that is a very black and white answer. But you know that there's gray areas, right? And how do you coach your clients through those gray areas to see them the way you do? And before you answer, I just want to say that, like, I personally am a very black and white person also. But most business owners, well, I don't want to say most, but me personally, I have a huge heart. So, like, it's hard to kind of just part ways with somebody, even though you know that they're a cancer. So it's almost like I'm choosing the pain instead of my own progress. Have you experienced that with some of your clients? I mean, I'm sure this is a conversation that you go through sometimes with them.
When's the last time you gave Bob the benefit of the doubt? When's the last time you had a conversation with Bob? I had multiple conversations with Bob. You're answering your own question. How many more conversations do you have with Bob? Obviously, Bob doesn't want to be part of the team. Bob wants to be Bob. So you can love Bob as much as you want, and you can let him go, or you can keep Bob here and you can keep suffering and keep complaining about how he's not working. So at the end of the day, like, we can't have that emotion. Our heart is big, but listen, you're involved in business to feed the families that are willing to work and your family. But if you have somebody who's showing up every day and not participating and they're working against flow, bro, it's like they talk about the ship. Every single time someone drills a hole, you're bound to sink. Mm-hmm. So if Bob keeps drilling and drilling and drilling, over time, here goes your ship, heavy right. What are you going to do? Hey, everyone go left. Yeah. It don't matter. You're too full of water at this point.
Yeah. All right. Walk me through. So you're back in construction, and it's from what I understand, you then built up 3 companies that you had then sold.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me just a little bit about that. Like, what were the companies? What led you to selling them? Why are you not doing that still?
So the heart attack is why I'm not doing it no more. But I realized that when I looked at top level entrepreneurs, like in my late 20s. What they did was they built a company, sold a company, built another company, sold another company. And that's how you build wealth. So you create something that has value, you get rid of it for high value, then you just create it again and it's a lot easier. So that's why I decided to do that. But then when I had my heart attack 4 years ago, I thought that was the last day of my life. And if anyone listening has ever been through a challenging time of your life like that, where you're like, you're experiencing something heavy like that in your life and you feel like this is it, a lot of shit goes through your head. I feel like I was already a man of faith. I heard one of your episodes where you said you don't have to go to church, you don't have to do this, but you have to have a relationship. And you came back because you were forced. I was forced too. I call myself a recovering Catholic because it was poured down my throat. But I became a Christian back in 2007. But I feel like I had an aha moment with God when this happened. And I believe God has a little game out there, like, how bad do you really want it? And I've always thought this way, where it's like, when you go to heaven, you're going to have one conversation. Everyone thinks, I'm a good boy, I'm a good girl, I'm going to go to heaven. That's not how it works. Number one, you said you have to accept him as your Lord and Savior. I heard on an episode, I think you did it with Omar maybe, I don't remember. But it's all about being a servant to other people and being available. No matter how good or bad you've done in life, you're available and you know that no matter what happens, grace and mercy has taken care of it all, right? So when I show up that one day, I know that conversation I'm going to have is going to be like this. Dan, I don't know what you did, but I've presented all this opportunity for you and you blew the lid off of it. That's the conversation I'm going to have. But up until the time of a heart attack, that conversation wasn't having. Because the dash in between my birthday and my end date was like, all right, you made a lot of money, you lost a lot of money, you know how to do it. Why aren't you helping other people? So at that point moving forward, I said, you know what I'm going to do from now on? I know how to be a CEO of a company. Most challenging part about owning a business is being a CEO. I'm going to teach people this. And if I teach people this and make it my primary goal, I'll never have to worry about money again because people will pay me for results because I'm result driven. So you have a coach, and what I've seen in the coaching industry and right now with this social media influencing bullshit going on and all these people doing these men's group and these groups and these groups and these groups. Like, people are so fake, bro. If you never used the shovel and got blisters and then sold the shovel, how do you teach the shovel? So all these people out there want to create these influential groups, want to get these people involved in their groups. They want to have this high power, but they're really broken inside because they're trying to fill a void. And I see it time and time again. But what I realized was this, is that people come up to me and they go, I'm a certified coach. I go, really? From what, a book? I'm certified by losing a shit ton of money and making a shit ton of money. And I went through it. This is a school of hard knocks if you really want to talk about it. So I can tell people and I can have that discipleship through business growth because I've been through it, right? So it's the same thing where all these people want to talk about what they can do, but very, very few can deliver. So I knew that I was available to be a deliverer because I was able to experience all this stuff up to this point in my life.
Do you feel that there is a sense of, I guess, camaraderie, right? Like when you have a group of people that are broken and they're not necessarily ready and or can't afford maybe a personal coach in the groups, right? Like I do hear what you're saying and I do understand there's a ton of people out there that are just fucking full of shit with their groups. But there are groups and that sort of camaraderie where if you're broken and I'm broken, let's talk about it together and vent about it together and try to build ourselves up together. Do you find value in that sort of thing?
So I hold mastermind groups where I bring people together, yes. Broken men can't fix broken men, right? So you got to find someone who's been broken. I actually have a book coming out called Never Broken. You have to find someone who's been broken, but utilize that broken and all those broken factors in your life to become unstoppable. And they have the receipts. People want to go out there and bring men together, if that's the avenue they're going down, and try to heal them. But
or
if you're
women,
not,
or women, or whatever.
I don't follow women, but I see men doing it a lot because like I'm more in the men world.
Yeah.
And they try to go out there and create this leadership role based on this tough push on what they can do. But when they go to bed at night and they lay their head down, they're not fulfilled. And it catches up. Listen, it's a short-term win for most guys. So what I do is I realize, like, okay, listen, my coach has been through hell and back. I've been through hell and back. But there's other people who step in the same role as him or as me, and they've never been back. They've stepped into hell, but they never went into it, right? So you really have to evaluate who you're taking advice from. Just because they have a big following, just because they have a group of people, doesn't mean that group is leveling up. If that guy is always the top guy and has all these other people in there looking up to him or her, if it's a girl, that group's not going anywhere. There's some people in that group that are stronger than that leader, elevating that group and now taking that leader to higher positions. That's always the misconception.
That reminds me of the quote that you should never, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Yep. And you should always focus on leveling up and hang around with the 4 or 5 people that are where you want to be in life and outgrowing whatever current circumstances or circles that you're in right now and pushing forward.
Always spend time with people who have a common future versus people who have a common past.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, I think that plays a lot into the outgrowing your friends, your friend group and leveling up your friend group and understanding that it's okay. That doesn't mean that you and your friends are bad people. It's just that you're not going in the same direction.
Yes, correct.
And you could still, like, I could still have love for you, but at the same time, like, we're just on different paths right now and we can't spend the time that we used to spend together because, listen, when you're in college and your roommate next door and the two of you are sitting there smoking weed, drinking every single night, like that was your common bond. Now that you're out in the real world and you're leveling up and your common bond may be going to work as a blue collar guy. And my common bond, my day-to-day is focusing on personal development. It just doesn't work. It doesn't mean that I have less love for you though.
We have something extremely, extremely valuable as we get older in life. We have the ability to choose who we want in it. When we're kids, we don't have that availability. We are who we are because of where we are. Our friends are who they are because gravity put us there. We dropped there. So as we get older, we have a choice. If we hold on to which is small, we'll never get which is large. We have to start impacting ourselves by putting ourselves around impactful people. But if we never do that, which very few people do, we never get to live life at our highest levels.
Who are your go-to motivational speakers and or when you need a kick in the ass?
So let me just say that I want to just clarify something because I think there's a misconception of motivational speakers, right? I think it's a word and maybe a title that's thrown around. There's no such thing. Inspirational speaker, because motivation is self. And most people go, oh man, you're so motivating. I go, I can't motivate you to get out of bed. I can't motivate you to brush your teeth. I can't motivate you to work out. I can inspire you. So this whole world in the motivation place has taken that term and really twisted it, because our motivation is us. Mm-hmm. Our inspiration is the people who are doing things that we're capable of doing, and we can see them doing it. And they're the ones who empower us. So people who inspire me, I would say Bedros Keuilian is my coach. He inspires me. Ed Milet inspires me. David Goggins inspires me. Jim Rohn's inspired me for many, many, many years. Zig Ziglar's inspired me. These have been people who've been super impactful in my life. On my drive up here today, I'm listening to Jim Rohn. I got my media guys in the car. We're in Florida, and we're doing a 12-day tour, 5-day tour on 12 podcasts, and I'm playing Jim Rohn in the car. And they're like, take this off. I'm like, no, you will listen, right? And by the end of the trip, dude, they're like literally verbatim repeating Jim Rohn. They go, this guy sounds so weird. I go, but listen to him.
Yep. I grew up with a lot of the Jim Rohn and Brian Tracy. My father listened to that, and he was into Robert Schuller also. I don't know. And so tough times don't last. Tough people do. It was legit on my refrigerator was a magnet. So I kind of grew up in that, and I think you're right. There is no. You don't even know what you're subconsciously being fed and what sticks and what doesn't stick. So I'm the same way, right? In my car, listen, I'd be lying to you if I told you I never listen to music in my car.
I think we all do, yeah.
But for the most part, in the mornings when I'm going to work, I'm listening to inspirational video, some savage shit, some Goggins or something like that. Yeah. And then I meditate, and then I kind of listen to some for me, obviously calls are very big for me. So I'm listening to, maybe some scripting or something like that on the way to the office, on the way home. I'm constantly learning based. Do you find that some of your clients, when you tell them these things, hey, listen to some Jim Rohn, listen to some Zig Ziglar, that there's pushback, or are they always open-minded to it?
I make every one of my clients read books.
Yep.
You have 30 days to read a book. Can't read? That's fine. They make an audiobook. Mm-hmm. But I want you to buy the book, and I want you to follow the audiobook. That way your phone isn't in your hand. Mm-hmm. And as you're listening, you're reading at the same time. Mm-hmm. And you're catching up. And I want you to highlight. Because everything I teach you is going to have to recondition your mind. I've read over 960 books. I read probably a book or two a month. And at the end of the day, you're talking about subconscious before. One thing I tell my clients is this. I don't care about where you are right now, nor should you. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between reality and what you're thinking. If we can recondition your mind to think differently, to allow you to believe other things are possible, those things ultimately become possible.
Yeah. Listen, I couldn't agree with you more. A lot of the stuff you're saying just kind of resonates with me, and that's why it's giving me a second to pause, because as you're saying it, I'm playing through my head how it's affected, how I have either how that's played a part in my life. And
you're very fortunate to have grown up with your dad listening to that stuff and stuff. Most people don't grow up with that.
I know.
We grow up with conditional thinking. Go to high school, go to college, get a job. And it takes a long time for people to get out of that cycle.
Yeah, I go through it a lot. I'd be telling friends, I tell friends of mine, hey, listen, man, if you're not happy at your job, start a side hustle. Oh, but I can't. But then what am I going to do? I'm like, dude, there's 168 hours in a week. 24 times 7 is 168. Deduct your 40 hours for work. Deduct 8 hours a day for sleep. That still leaves you with 90 plus hours.
Here's the challenge for them. Say, open up your phone. Show me your screen time. 16 fucking hours, bro.
Yeah.
There's your time. There's your side hustle.
Yep, exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Get off TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok. And so all like if you the screen time allows you to do that. And what I do is I put a limiter on mine, right? So like if I'm more than 20 minutes a day, like it prompts you like, do you want to continue or do you want to log off? And you know, like I don't always log off, but at least it gives me that sort of that friction. So it's another way to kind of break down, stop the scroll.
People always ask me, they go, with the following you have and the amount of content you put out, like how do you manage your social media time? I'm probably on social media less than every single person in this office right now. Maybe 15 minutes a day. I post, it's the only thing I do. When I go on social media for the first, let's say 6 minutes, I'm going down, liking, throwing a couple comments in, I'm off. If you're not in those first 10 feeds or the first 5 stories, I'm out.
Yeah.
And if you got 850 stories, next, I just want to see something that's, powerful. And I train my Instagram to know what I like and who I like. That way, that's what pops up on my feed, and that's who I can support. So if you look at yours, like I've been looking more at your stuff just to learn more about you, even though I've always liked your stuff, but in the last couple of days, I've probably liked more. Just because like I trained my stuff to watch you more, to know you more, because I was going to meet you. And, we've been trying to do this for months.
I know.
And I was telling someone on a show the other day, or earlier today, I was like, Steve's been trying to get me up here in the summer. And I told him, no, bro, I don't go away on the weekends. I said, I'll come up in the winter. I said, whether he took that as disrespect or not, but like I've built my life by design. I'm not going to leave a boat and a shore house to go do a podcast in Connecticut when I can say I have 90-degree weather. I'm going to stay on the boat.
Yeah, nah, dude, listen, I did not take it as any disrespect. I appreciate those boundaries, right? Like I appreciate when somebody knows how they want their life to be. Yeah, man, I appreciate that stuff, man. So I didn't take it as disrespect at all. What does an unshakable leader look like to you? How do you define that?
Well, number one, someone who's not willing to negotiate their values. You know what you want, you know what you deserve, and as long as you're willing to fight for it, you don't let nothing get in your way. When we start to see success in our life, whatever that looks like, whether it's a relationship, whether it's kids, whether it's a business, whatever it looks like, we start getting our nuts kicked in. You're either going to sit there and say, my nuts hurt, or you're going to be like, yo, bitch, that didn't hurt. You can kick me harder because I'm going to keep going, right? So you got to make the decision on what impacts you. So I tell people, you could be knocked down, but don't ever get knocked out. Because when you get knocked down, you always have a chance of getting back up.
Yep.
But if you allow something to knock you out and you create the victim mentality, you will never be the victor of your life.
It's like they talk about in Balboa when he says you get knocked down 7, get up 8.
Exactly.
That is not something that your average person believes, though, right? Like you have to have I feel like entrepreneurs have to have sort of that sick sort of ability to overcome adversity. And if you don't have that, it's going to be very difficult for you to be a leader.
So and I train that? I train that with childlike mentality. Think about when you have kids?
3.
Okay, so you have kids, right? If you remember your kids from the crawling stage to the walking stage, they didn't give a fuck if you were ready. If they wanted to walk, they were climbing up the side of the stairs, and they were going and they were falling. And you're like, no. And when you weren't looking, they were running up the stairs. And if they weren't supposed to go in the fridge, they were going in the fridge. If they weren't opening the door, they're opening the door. And your kids literally are fearless. They are relentless and like, hey, we're going after this, and have such grit. So why don't we have it as adults? Because we allow other people to dictate now what we should and shouldn't believe.
Yeah.
So I bring that childlike mentality back to all my clients. And I go, listen, at one time, at one point in your life, nothing got in your way. When did that stop? And it's usually their parents who have given them limited beliefs because, listen, our parents love us, but there's like a safety culture.
Amen.
Our parents don't want us to suffer.
Yep.
But if we don't suffer, we never truly live.
Mm-hmm. And how do you train somebody to accept that suffering?
Well, I just say this is the life that you have, and this is the life that you want. and you're not going to get the life that you want nor the business that you want unless you rethink the way you do things. So that's when I reverse engineer everything, and I talk about all the things. I talk about the things I've been through. So when people are like, you don't understand what I've been through, let's go. And I start piling the things that I've been through. 2 companies went bankrupt. I got divorced. I had one son who didn't talk to me for 4 years, his entire high school career. You want to keep going? I mean, at the end of the day, like, maybe your mom died. Maybe your grandma died. That's okay, but that's not your identity. People do die. We're not here forever. We're here for a short time. But if you're allowing that to be the reason why you're not successful, then you just don't want it enough, and you're allowing it to be your excuse not to work.
I tell people that you can, and I think I might have actually posted that this morning. There's 2 types of people who make excuses and people who make it happen. Yep. You get to choose every single day which one you're going to be. And also, I think that if you want to be somewhere and you want to be a certain type of person, how does that person show up every single day? Start doing the actions that person, like if you want to make, let's just say you want to make $250,000 a year selling whatever it may be in your industry. And how does somebody who makes $250,000, how do they show up every single day? What time do they wake up? What time do they go to sleep? What are they listening to? Are they out drinking? Are they out partying? And if you start monitoring your behaviors like the people, and you will you will just turn into that person, and that success will come to you.
So we come into this world naked as children.
Yes. Naked and afraid.
Naked, right? Not afraid. Resilient.
Resilient,
right?
Yes.
Opposite of afraid. We come into this world naked. And somehow, some way, as we go through life, we grab these 2 bags and we start filling them up. One bag is excuses and one bag is blame. And every single thing that happens in our life, one thing we don't want to do is take ownership. Every single time you take ownership, you're allowed to release one blame and one excuse. Until the point that you've taken ownership that every bad thing that's ever happened in your life is because of you. Whether you were in the wrong place, whether, whatever it was. Because you are who you are because of who you are, and you are where you are because of who you are. And for things to change, you have to eliminate the reasons on why and just figure out how. How am I going to get there? So everyone talks about why they do everything. You have 3 kids. You could probably relate. Like, how many people that you work with go, oh, man, I'm doing this for my kids. Then you hear all the bullshit excuses on why they don't show up. Oh, did you tell your kid today that you didn't feel like making a sale? Did you tell your kid today you didn't feel like doing this? Oh, your kid wants to go on vacation. Did you tell them that because you didn't feel like it, you can't afford it? Mm-hmm. Are you really doing it for your kids? Make people fucking think.
Yeah, yeah. What truth do most entrepreneurs need to hear but desperately try to avoid?
That you're not as good as you think.
How does that... I mean, that's powerful.
The most successful entrepreneurs and billionaires out there don't even know how their business operates. They've hired the talent, put them into place, and just created the vehicle. They have no idea how to drive it.
What do you think the most important hire is for an entrepreneur or a business person?
You. How you show up. What you do, what you believe, and what you tolerate. So you're the most important hire, number one, because you are the vehicle. You can't show up with 3 flats in 1 tire, right? You got to show up fully aware of knowing where you're going, what your direction is. Now, your job is to say, okay, I got someone in the driver's seat. We got the GPS. We got enough air in the tires. Someone's checking it, right? So it's like the race car driver. All his job is to do is sit behind the wheel. He doesn't change his tires. He knows. And then someone's telling him where to go, right? So at the end of the day, your job is to be sitting behind the wheel. Everybody else is going to help you and be your navigation and direct you. But you have to be willing to be the person in that wheel and in that seat to be able to be the vehicle. Everything else on the vehicle will be taken care of. But the business owner wants to change the tire. The business owner wants to be the GPS. You can't read the map, drink the coffee, and get there at the same time. It doesn't work.
Very true. Very true. All right. So we're going to... Something that I ask every single person that sits in that chair is, what is the legacy that you'd like to leave when you're long gone? What do you want people to say about Dan?
Well, what they're going to say is that they saw a YouTube video, they heard something, whatever it was, and I impacted their world, and I allowed them to show that there was possibility outside of what they believed. And because of me or something that I said, either they or someone in their family never gave up, and that's why they're living the life they are today.
And you just walk in that direction every single day. You walk the walk, you talk the talk.
Every day. I'm a no bullshit dude.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of friends, bro. I have a lot of people I work with, but a lot of people can't handle me because I tell the truth.
Yeah, I could. People like us are on a different path and operate differently, right? Like I think I was telling you before that like somebody had said to me, "Oh, you're obsessed with work," and I'm like, "No, I'm obsessed with self-improvement." And like if that involves work at this season of my life, then that's fine. But when I'm in the gym or waking up at 5 a.m. and I'm running or I'm eating right, all that stuff is going towards being the best version of myself. And I feel like you do a really good job of giving people the tools, but they have to put those tools to work.
Yeah.
I'd like for you, just before we go, to look into that camera, just tell people how to get in touch with you.
Sure. My biggest platform is going to be Instagram. Big Dan Official. I'm in my DMs. I'm in my comments. Anything you need. I love giving away free advice. If there's something you're struggling with, something that you need, just reach out to me. I'll go as deep as, I've had conversations that have been miles and miles long. As long as I can help you get to where you need to be, just hit me up. You can take a look at my website, dansachkowsky.com. You'll see Big D coaching on there, Big D speaking on there, Big D masterminds. If you're looking to plug in, if you need anything, that's going to be your best resource.
Dan, thank you so much for being here. I can tell you one thing that I've learned and what I've taken away from this episode is fix yourself. And I knew it, right? But like, just like, I don't know if you realize this, but you just coached me a little bit. But like, just fix yourself and focus on fixing you, and then the rest of the organization will just fall into place. And if they don't, right? Pull the cord, fire fast. You hear that, everybody? Fire fast. This has been another episode of the Padernacht Podcast. Big thanks to you, Dan. Seriously, man. Stay tuned next week, and big shout out to Kai Visions for producing this episode. Take care, everybody.